What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So yesterday in my video about the meta, I talked about how I was going to be using the RAM 7 in my tournament, and someone in my chat when I was starting to play was like, well, why wouldn't you just consider the XM4, because you can get really similar TTKs to the RAM while still having the same amazing Cold War mobility that you get with all the Cold War guns, and it has a Raider stock just like the FFAR used to. So I gave that some thought and looked at some of the data, and in the end I think he was right. It's a very good option to use instead of the RAM. So I'm going to talk about that today, and I just honestly totally kind of forgot about the XM4 in my video yesterday, so I thought I'd give it some love today. But as always, if you guys like the content, like the website, consider dropping a sub, comment, like. Helps us grow, helps us keep doing this. But yeah, let's jump into it, and I will show you why I think the XM4 is a fantastic replacement for the FFAR. All right, so just to talk briefly about what made the FFAR so dominant previously, it had both like the best TTKs across the board, and it had that insane mobility and good ADS times with the Raider stock, and the Raider stock also gave it good sprint to fire times. So it essentially turned it into a super high mobility, super fast TTK, super long range SMG with good sprint to fire times, and it just dominated all the SMGs and pretty much all the like sniper support ARs as well. They've obviously nerfed it to the point where it doesn't have those TTKs anymore. So we don't have anything that's going to be an FFAR again, but I think the XM4 is as close as we can get, and I'll show you why when we talk about TTK charts and mobility and stuff like that. But we're never going to have the FFAR again like it was. But that's a good thing, because we want to be able to use SMGs. We don't want an AR to win all the SMG fights, but we can get pretty close with this XM4 that I'm going to show you. All right, so I've built all basically the top TTK ARs that make sense for this role to take over where the FFAR was before. So I've got the XM4, the FFAR, the Cold War AK, the AMAX, the RAM 7, and the FARA. So first of all, the first requirement is having that insane Cold War mobility. So pretty much all the Cold War guns have much better mobility, movement speed, strafe speed, all that stuff than the Modern Warfare guns. So if you want that mobility still, that kind of takes the RAM 7 and the AMAX off the table. And that's what I realized when I actually was running that RAM 7, is like I was just so slow, and my like ADS movement speed and stuff like that was just awful. So it makes me a really easy target for people compared to using a Cold War gun. So that's when I started looking back into the Cold War guns. So if I remove the RAM 7 and the AMAX from this chart, just because I want that mobility still, you can see this is chest shots, 250 health. The AMAX, the Cold War AK-47 has the best TTK by far, followed by the XM4. So the XM4 actually kills faster than the FFAR and the FARA in that first damage drop off now, which is all the way out at 22 meters. So it's pretty significant. But yeah, they're all pretty close up there. But the Cold War AK does kill quite a bit faster, down at 500 milliseconds as compared to the XM4, which is all the way up at 583. So that's a significant difference. But the Cold War AK-47 is one of those guns that you have to hit. You can only miss one chest shot to get that same TTK, and it has a slower fire rate, so it's a little less forgiving. The faster fire rate, the more forgiving guns feel for sure in gunfights. But all these Cold War guns can get that high mobility. So let's switch it over to extremities. If you look at extremities now, I'm going to turn AMAX and RAM 7 off again. If you look at extremities now, the XM4 has the fastest TTK of all these guns. The AK-47 from Cold War is about 20 milliseconds slower, so that's a really, really small amount. Like, don't get me wrong, that's pretty insignificant, but we're just looking for the best option there is, trying to find the most meta thing we can. And like I said, the AK, if you miss more than one chest shot, this is the TTK you're going to get. So it has what looks like an amazing TTK if you look at 250 health chest shots only. But if you actually think of it in a practical sense, that's not a TTK you're going to get very often ever. Whereas the XM4 has that 5.56 damage profile where it does the same to chest, stomach, and legs. And it does kill a little bit faster than all the other options. At this point, it has a little less range, which is exactly how it should be balanced. But I just think because of these reasons, the XM4 is the new best option to replace what you used to run the FFAR in. The FFAR has a better damage range still out at 31 meters. This is the pink line here going all the way out. But it's just, I think the XM4 actually is easier to control. It's more accurate. So it has a better TTK and it's a little more accurate. So I think I'm pretty much going to switch everywhere I used the FFAR before. I'll probably switch to either an SMG or the XM4. All right, so this is the build I would actually recommend. So this is what I ran with the M16. So this is more of an SMG build for the XM4, and you're still going to lose to SMGs, which, like I said, that's what you want. You don't want an assault rifle to be dominant in the SMG range like the FFAR was, but this is our new best option for that slot, I think. So we've got the regular suppressor, that's for ADS times. We don't care about damage range too much because we're using this as an SMG, but because I was using this with an M16, and like I said in my video yesterday, the M16 is really, really not effective inside like 40 meters anymore. I did want to extend that damage range back out, but I wanted to keep my ADS times low so I could use it up close as well. So we use regular suppressor, which reduces my damage range, and then takedown barrel, which extends that damage range back out to a little bit further than it was even without the suppressor. So we get good ADS times, a long damage range. An optic, I don't like the irons. If you like the irons, you could run the irons and potentially put like a wrap on the rear grip to help with ADS times. So I run mill stop. This is what I ran on the FFAR too. I just like the mill stop for some reason. I like having a little bit more zoom than microflex, but the microflex has the best sight picture. So either one of those, great options. And then Raider pad. So this is the Raider stock essentially from the FFAR. It does the same exact thing. Mobility feels about the same as the FFAR, which is awesome. That was one of the things that made it so good. So we can still get that with the XM4 here. And then Stanag 60 round mag, and this is hurts your ADS times, but having 60 bullets, this is even 10 more shots than you had with the FFAR, so that's really, really nice. And ADS times are still really good on this build, so I think this is a fantastic loadout here. No underbarrel. We don't really need to help with recoil. The recoil is relatively easy to control on the XM4, especially inside like 30 meters, which is where we're trying to use this mostly. But yeah, I think this is S tier FFAR replacement. I think this is the best gun to replace what you were using your FFAR as before, essentially. I want to quickly discuss specifically the XM4 versus the Ram 7, since I was kind of sold on the Ram 7 yesterday, and now I'm sold on the XM4 today. So the difference here in TTK is pretty minimal. So the Ram 7 is 561 milliseconds, and the XM4 is 583. So very, very similar. The Ram 7 has a little bit more range. So basically the trade-off is with the Ram 7, in my opinion, the recoil is a little bit harder to control than the XM4. Very close, but a little bit harder to control. Slightly better TTKs with the Ram 7, but 20 milliseconds is very, very minimal. But with the XM4, you get dramatically better mobility, which is something that you really want with an SMG. So I don't know. That's kind of why I've leaned towards the XM4, even though the Ram 7 has a little bit better TTK. All right, guys, quick, simple video today. I know a lot of people are looking for an FFAR replacement, and I think the XM4 is probably the best option for that right now, based on everything I know and all the testing I've done. So I thought I'd get that out there and try to help people out. But as I mentioned, SMGs are still going to beat this because they've finally kind of lined up the ARs with where they should be. And if you get the drop on somebody or you just hit better shots than them, then this could definitely beat an SMG. But you come up against Cold War MP5, Modern Warfare MP5, those are both going to have significantly better TTKs and sprint to fire times and ADS times. So up close, a lot of the time now you're just going to, not be able to take SMGs like you could before with the FFAR. But I think this is as close as you're going to get to that old FFAR. All right, everybody. Well, I hope, as always, you found it interesting and useful. Consider dropping a sub. We're getting close to 150,000, which is just ridiculous to me, wild. But thank you guys all for the support, and I will see you all in the next video.